That's good. The meeting to order for this evening, which is January 22nd. Thanks to all of you for joining us this evening. Good to have everyone here in full house and those attending in person as well as online. We will start with our roll call, please, Ms. Farren.
Anderson,
Here.
Appenfeld,
Here.
Bonnet,
Here.
Burnett,
Here.
Faree,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Hanson,
Here.
Keel,
Here.
Mark,
Here.
Olson,
Present.
Perkins,
Here.
Wissell,
Here.
Yads,
Here.
Zop.
Here.
Thank you. Please let the record show all are present and account. We already did.
Oh, you did.
I know, someone stole the thunder. We did acknowledge someone's birthday. And how old are you this evening, Alderperson Fisher?
80.
80. Woo. And Alderperson Fisher has brought cake for everyone. So make sure that you plan on taking a couple minutes afterwards to grab a piece of cake and we'll celebrate together. A great occasion. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for being here on your birthday. We will go on then to our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment for silent deliberation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item number 3 is time for informal public hearing. Is there anyone joining us in the audience here in person or online that would like to speak to council this evening? Anyone online or in person that would like to speak to council? And one more time, if you'd like to speak to council, we'll have you step forward now or acknowledge yourself online. All right, very good. No public comment this evening. We'll move on to agenda item number 4, announcements. I will just bring forward Saturday evening is Puppy Prom that is held at the Chapel of the Archangels, and that will be a fundraiser that will support the Humane Society in case you're interested in that. And then I see Jana's online. So if Jana, if you wouldn't mind, if you are available, if you could talk a little bit about Cabin Fever Fest.
Absolutely. This Saturday, January 27th is Cabin Fever Fest, and we have activities planned all around town, indoor and outdoor. So whatever the weather brings us this week and Saturday, we're prepared. We have activities at Tahoe Park, including ice skating and a walking path on the lake. Conditions allowing, Crystal Park, everything from ice skating and sledding to disc golf and hot chocolate and s'mores. Lakeview Park, we have a kickball tournament planned. Around town, we have a chili and soup cook-off at the Praise Assembly of God, euchre tournament at the Thirsty Beaver, free esports at that are in a racing tournament that's happening at Bank Esports, and jigsaw puzzle contest, all sorts of activities around town. And of course, we have the vendor market located at the Watermark with many vendors. That's always a popular event. And we'll have food, including the soup and chili lunch, as well as around town. And of course, there will be nightlife with fire pits and music by Sarah Day at Uga Brewery. And so we encourage everyone to come out and have a good time, see their friends, neighbors, family, and just get out and enjoy the day.
Thank you so much, Jana. I saw the announcement several times. It's quite an impressive list of fun things to do for the community, and thanks to you and your staff for all your work on organizing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And the best way to keep up with what is happening is to follow us online or on Facebook, and watch for email blasts for those of you who receive our email blasts. And we also have a QR code that will take you to the updates. So again, with the weather that we're having this week, some things might change, but there will not be lacking for activities.
Thank you. Thanks, Jana.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Alderperson Oppenthaler.
I have a special announcement. Let the record this evening show that the Common Council of the City of Beaver Dam thanks Mayor Becky Gluen for all that she has accomplished and all that she has done as mayor for the community and City of Beaver Dam. In addition, let the record show that the Common Council of the City of Beaver Dam wishes Mayor Becky success, health, and happiness as she moves forward to her new position in Trepalow County.
Thank you so
Let's
much.
stand up and give her a hand. Come on, let's give her a hand. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very appreciated. Thanks for the kind words. I do appreciate it. All right. Any other announcements?
Well, with that, Mayor, it would probably be appropriate at this time just to remind everyone that there will be an open house for the community as a whole this Wednesday from 5 to 7. Will spare me an administrator's report later. But we truly are appreciative of the leadership that you have committed to the city and the progress that we've seen. So we're excited to see the community show up again at the chamber from 5 to 7 this Wednesday.
Thank you. I'm embarrassed, but thank you very much. All right, I'm going to quickly move on. Agenda item number 5, our disposition of minutes of the Common Council meeting of January 8th, 2024. I'd entertain a motion to approve. Alderperson Hanson. Thank you. Is there a second? Alderperson Bonnet. Thank you. Any comments, questions regarding the minutes? All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to report.
I'll stay true to my word.
Okay. Moving on to agenda item number 7, communications.
There is one communication this evening, dated Friday, January 19th. Dear Mayor Gluen, I am writing to formally submit my resignation as a member of the Beaver Dam Police and Fire Commission effective February 15th, 2024. It is with a mix of gratitude and reluctance that I take this step. Over the 5.5 years, I have the incredible privilege of serving the citizens of Beaver Dam as a commissioner on the Police and Fire Commission. This journey has been a remarkable chapter in my life, providing me with the insights and experiences that I will forever cherish. Regrettably, due to increasing challenges posed by my travel and work-related activities, I find it increasingly difficult to dedicate the time and attention that this position demands. It is a decision that I have not taken lightly, and I believe that stepping down at this juncture is in the best interest of the commission and the community. During my tenure, I have gained a profound appreciation for the challenges and sacrifices that the personnel of the police and fire departments make on a daily basis. It has been an eye-opening experience that has deepened my understanding of the critical role these departments play in ensuring the safety and well-being of our community. I want to express my sincere gratitude to you and the entire Beaver Dam Police and Fire Commission for providing me with the opportunity to contribute to our wonderful community. It has been an honor to work alongside dedicated individuals who are committed to upholding the values of service, integrity, and public safety. I extend my best wishes to the commission and its members for continued success in serving the community. Thank you once again for the trust and support extended to me throughout my tenure. Sincerely, John Othout.
Thank you, Ms. Perrin. So John has been just an incredible public servant and an unpaid position that requires a lot of dedication and time, and has been there's just been a remarkable shift, I think, in that board, and just really appreciate everything that he's done for our community through his service to the PFC. And I would say that Chief Kreitzinger and Chief Wesley would express the same. Been very impressed, and he has been just such a great asset to our community and to both of those departments. So we thank him. And to his, again, leadership, he has been talking to me about this for a while, and so he had brought a name forward, and actually I've been working with that individual over the last few months to have her ready for nomination for you, because but there were a lot of illnesses around the holidays and things, and so just couldn't bring that name forward. But as you'll notice on the end of the agenda this evening, I will bring that name forward. This is an individual that John works with closely at the bank and has put in leadership there, that has a IT background and could be very beneficial to the PFC and both departments in kind of that critical area of security that we need for both of those departments. So that person's name is Rebecca Anderson. And so again, just a testament to John's leadership, and have really enjoyed working with him. He's been fantastic. So, all right, moving on to agenda item number 8. We've got the bills listed here. I'd entertain a motion to approve the bills. Is Alderperson Wissell?
I move that we approve the bills in a payment of $6,413,430.38.
Thank you, Alderperson Wissell. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alderperson Zopp. All right, all those in favor of approving the bills, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? Thank you. Moving on to ordinances. We only have one, and that one is scheduled for the second reading and public hearing on February 5th. All right, moving on to resolutions.
Resolution number 6-2024, a resolution adopting the Downtown Redevelopment Committee Residential Exterior Building Improvements Program.
Thank you, Ms. Farren. I'd entertain a motion to discuss. Alderperson Hanson.
I'll make a motion for discussion.
Thank you, Alderperson Hanson. Is it second by Mark? Comments, questions? I'm gonna ask John Moosreiner maybe to come forward. And then I'm just going to preface this first with 4 questions. If you remember, these were some ARPA funds that we set aside for housing improvement program to help individuals that might be struggling with exterior improvements. And so the Downtown Redevelopment Committee already oversees a facade improvement program for the downtown. So they were tasked with overseeing these funds and putting a program into place that could be used. We looked and researched other programs that are being used in the state. There are other communities that have implemented such things. And John worked with that committee to put together the program. I would have to say I think the program as it's set up is very appealing because it's very easy to work with in comparison to other communities that I researched and looked at. This is a really easy way to roll this out, similar to the downtown programming, and something manageable also for John, but I just want to give him credit for putting that all together, thinking through that and the vision for that, because I think if we're going to move this forward, this is a very good way to do that. So comments, questions for John? Yes, Alderperson Anderson.
I just have a bunch of concerns with this. Number one, it's not just for residential buildings because only a portion of the building has to be used for residential. So any bar that has an apartment above it can then get this grant. Which then leads me to the other concern is there's no need qualification in any of this. So if you are a bar owner, you're probably pretty successful. You know, they tend not to lose money. So do they need a grant? Probably not. If you're a landlord and you're not an owner occupied, if you're a landlord renting it out, with the way rents have skyrocketed the last 3 years, you can't tell me that you're so hard off that you can't afford to do this work yourself that you need a grant. But those are my biggest concerns, along with it's only on Madison Street. This should be citywide. And there should be some sort of income qualification so we aren't giving people that are very well off. I mean, basically, we're rewarding the deadbeat landlords again. Hey, don't take care of your property. We'll give you some free money to take care of it. And it's really not helping the people that don't have enough money to do this on their own because they have to pay for it all up front before they then get reimbursed. So if you can afford to pay for it all up front, you probably don't need the grant. You know, on top of that, I guess I also need a legal opinion is if people own property in this area, are they required to abstain? Because we have 2 people on this council that definitely own property on Madison Street.
Each situation I'd have to look at, but the general rule is a council member can't vote for something that would give them a personal benefit. So, you know, if you create a program that's available to a subset of people and you're in that subset, I'd have to think about it. But the general rule is you can't vote for something that you would benefit from personally.
I like the idea. I wish it was citywide. I'm not gonna support it how it is right now. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Just to follow up a little bit, so the committee did discuss all of those things that you're talking about in depth. And I think one of the things, just to talk about citywide, it was really felt like let's roll, because this is new, we don't know how well it'll go over, and it's going to take a bit of just work to talk with people and get the word out and meet. And it's a lot of hand holding. John does a tremendous amount of work for the downtown program already. Now we're throwing another thing at him. So it is of concern to say, so this was basically looked at as this is a pilot program. And when we looked at and analyzed that Madison Street entrance, again, as a gateway that's in our comprehensive plan, there's a lot of properties that have really done a good job. And I think most of those, as we looked at Rock the Block with Habitat for Humanity and things, a lot of the problem properties are rentals. So again, part of your comments are valid. And it's kind of like that downtown discussion and going, the frustration of, yes, we know and we agree that we're not happy, but in order to get some people to make change, and we want to see that improvement on our gateway, That's what we have done anyway in that situation. So not to say that, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't disagree with you at all. It's not something that I think, and I feel the same way about the downtown. Mix talked about this a lot, and I think we're all in a lot of agreement there. There is a definite housing need, and I think part of the problem in our community is looking at what's the quality of housing that we have in certain areas that really affects our community overall. And it's not even housing maybe that's appropriate. And it's nothing, again, that's something that we'd like to try to spur the investment. And a lot of times what happens is when you see this happen, what happens? Other people get on board and want to fix up their property. We've seen that over and over again in downtown. So I think that's part of it as well. Based on need, right now we do have the CDGB funds that are based on very low income numbers. People can get free money, use it for as long as they want, sell the house and just give back whatever they used. But it is so restrictive that there's a lot of people that can't use it that would benefit from it. And so, this is a program that hopefully can help people that maybe, don't qualify for that, but are still struggling. John, do you want to address anything or?
Aspect of it, the 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit, all the family properties were just those. We weren't looking for commercial and above. Single family, duplex. We need to be more specific on that. Combination of commercial and residential.
I'll get to you. Can you make some suggestions on changes that you'd like to see? I mean, it sounds like you wouldn't want to see the rental, the rental piece, landlords owning. Are there other things that you could put definite things on, like you'd like to see changed in this, and then we can discuss that?
That's those would be zoned. Yes, I think that's not. Yeah, I think. Yeah. I can spell that out. That's like, can't use excuse commercial and residential.
We'll go to Alderperson Wassell and then to Burnett.
I was just going to clarify that those properties are commercial zoned and would not be included.
Oh, okay, thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I have just some, I guess, ignorant questions, but this downtown development committee who will be making these decisions, who are they? I mean, are they representative of business? Are they community members? Do they have a vested interest in expanding beyond downtown?
They are all appointed members. We have 2 alderpersons, Alderperson Wassell and Appenfeld on that committee, as well as some business and other community members. So for instance, Rick Fiegel, help me out, Mark Murphy, Glenn Link, Julie Zahn, Jen Warmbold, John Larson, thank you.
Okay, because when I read through this stuff, it occurred to me that there could be bias to the downtown. That's one issue, not knowing really where the members came from. But then is there a plan in here that I missed, that how will we communicate the availability of this to the community? So I mean, that's just a question. I just got one or two other short ones. When this was discussed at a council meeting several months ago, the issue of blighted housing and that, and particularly, I think in relationship to Madison Street, was identified with agreement that there is blighted properties there. And how does this program prioritize the high visibility areas like Madison Street from somebody who's got a resident off of an alley in some back street? I'm just dramatizing that. But it's like, if we're gonna spend money on the city, let's get the biggest bang for the buck. And, you know, I think I've heard a lot of positive comments about the downtown and that upgrade in terms of how well that worked. But, you know, if we're gonna do this, I mean, I would really hope that we can maximize it. And I don't know if that's a core group, a core principle in making the decisions or not, because that's, I just feel that we're giving this away.
Right.
And you know, and I don't know the people, but
That was the, you know, that was the reason for identifying Madison Street first and only because of the high visibility. And it has to be on a front facing facade, or if they're on a corner, it can be the corner side piece. But as far as addressing the whole community, I mean, that would be a hope in the future, is to say, if this is really successful, what are other areas and other, you know, other ability to, and the city's ability to do that, but to start with at a smaller level to see how it gets addressed. I'll let Nathan step in and then Mark.
Yeah, and I'll let, John will probably respond to this too, but I'm having been at these committee meetings when these were being discussed. There was good conversation, with regard to where should we, try to, put this money. And we discussed, or I shouldn't say we, the committee discussed, a variety of roads as possibilities. I know University Ave came up north of Park Ave. There was also Center Street. Yep. And so, and John can probably fill in a couple of the others that were discussed. But the thought process again was that this was going to be a pilot program. They recognized $180,000 for a $10,000 grant. It's going to go fast. That's 18 properties. And so they could have opened it up to the entire city, but you know, 18 properties and 5,000 across 5,000 households, you're not going to see anything. You're not going to actually make a gain, right? And so I think the committee was very smart in trying to focus or trying to localize these funds to a specific corridor. And I think Madison, by and large, of the committee, they just felt that that was going to get, as you said, Joe, the best bang for the buck, because it's so visible. And there are a lot of properties. And the only other comment I want to make is with regard to rentals. That was a discussion too for quite a bit of time. And John, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but the thought process is, if we're going to do Madison Street, but we only focus on owner occupied, what's the point right now on Madison Street? There isn't as much. It's not going to go as far in making a difference. And so I just want to commend the committee for the time that they did spend. Having been in several of those meetings, I missed the last one, but having been in the meetings, there was really good discussion, and I think that the program's in good hands.
Do you want to talk about how to roll it out? And
Yeah, I mean, as far as our departments notifying, we plan on mailing letters. I have contact information for most of the people on it to every one of those owners about this book. I'm sure there'll be stuff in the radio and the newspaper and whatnot, so the city's end, but from our department will notify everybody.
There's one individual in town as well that works closely at the Watermark and has a background in housing and before retiring. And has been approached and has some interest in kind of being that liaison for the city that would just be able to go out and talk to people and say, here's this program, can I help you? And connect that person to John if they had questions or needed more help. Do you have other questions, Joe? Thank you. Yes, Alderperson Mark.
I'm assuming that the money will only be available for property on Madison Street that's in city limits, correct? Because I know there's lots of houses that are in the township. So they will not be eligible, correct?
Unless they want
And then, well, maybe it's an incentive. And then my other question is, as a committee or as leadership, have you, because I agree, I think the 180,000 is going to go quickly. Has there been any discussion on a mechanism to fund this in the future once that's gone?
Administratively, no, we have not, but that's something, just be thoughtful that if the pilot goes well, among all the other restraints or constraints that we have in funding programs and so forth, that this could be fairly popular. So just being mindful of that, I appreciate that you're thinking that way.
I think the committee realizes as well, it's not meant to just, it is meant as a blight reduction, right? It's just not meant for every home that looks good already, right? And so that's some that they will have to discern and make sure that they're using the funds appropriately. And this group is very careful about that. So I think that'll be absolutely discussed and looked at. Yes, Alderperson Saab.
So first I want to thank Alder Anderson. After reading the eligibility requirements, I could see how you interpret it that way. So I'm glad that we're going to adjust the language to say zone residential or something. I'm glad we're doing that. I like the targeting to Madison and blight reduction. I wonder, on the off chance this doesn't just go out the door like hotcakes, is there a deadline where any leftover money would get opened up? Because I didn't see that in the program.
We did talk about that if this doesn't take off. I think after we do our mass, so forth, we'll get a lot of response this spring. That's, you know, we kind of said end of spring, early summer. If there's not a lot of response, I'll be back opening it up to other areas of the city to see if we can get more.
Okay, is this, if I'm Larry or Nathan, we have to have this money,
Spent by 2026.
but it has to be.
And
It's committed already.
Oh, so this, what we have right now does count as.
It's committed.
Okay, good. So we don't need contractors booked to get commitment. Okay, good. So we have time. Okay, perfect. So then I guess that lessens my concern about this being used efficiently. So whether or not we need to put something in there to say, you know, if money not spent by July 1st, come back, or to reassess. Okay. Would there, I guess, is there any
Want
interest
to
or
put,
just?
just wrap it into one amendment on these things?
One thought that I would throw out is as staff, we're aware of the intent or what we've talked about, and we're also aware we're not going to let it go
Okay,
for long. So if you want to have language specifically directing us, that's fine. But I'd also say that I don't know if it's necessary at this point.
okay,
But that's your discretion.
right. I'd like to move forward with Ken's idea to have specific language to make sure that commercial properties, do we need a motion for that to restrict,
Do we need to add that?
to direct?
I wouldn't think so. This is a housing grant or program anyway to start with. It's not a commercial program.
Well, it reads as single family 2-3 unit in whole or part. So it's the in whole or part that is very confusing, that would lead somebody to say, I have 2 units in part above my commercial property. How can you exclude those parts? So, which based on that reading, I think we need to have something to say, single family, 2, 3 unit, 4 units zoned residential.
I'll let Larry jump in.
So that provision, and maybe one of our members that was on this committee might clarify, it specifically says single family, 2 unit, 3 unit, and 4 unit multifamily properties that are used in whole or in part. And that could be read a couple ways. It could mean that they could be used for residential in part, or it could mean that there's some vacancy, or there's some of it's just not being used. So I think it's probably a good idea to clarify that sentence
Okay.
either way. And it would be a motion made by someone to do that. I would hesitate to link it directly to the zoning,
Okay.
because there's potential, and maybe John knows, but there's potential that there's some non-conforming uses, or there's some residential that's in a commercial building that's owned, and vice versa. So I think it's, given that, what I would say is used all single, you just take out that that are used in whole or in part. And just say all residential, single family, 2 unit, 3 unit, and 4 unit multifamily properties.
Okay. I will take your advice, Larry. Thank you. I'll make a motion that we strike the words that are used in whole or part from the property, as from the first line of the property eligibility requirements. And then we look forward to having this come back.
Well, is that just a motion? Is there a second then? Thank you.
And it doesn't have to come back.
Oh, okay.
With that change, it's
Yeah.
Okay.
ministerial at that point. It's pretty easy.
So there's a motion on the floor with a second on the, yes, go ahead, Alderperson Anderson.
Since we have that amendment in there, I'll just comment on that, just so that I'm reading the room right. We are all in agreement that this is for residential housing only, correct? There's no, I have an apartment attached to my business, I'm gonna get the grant for this. That's, I know, but that's the intent. That's the intent, that it should be residential,
Okay,
just so that we can clearly pass this on to this committee when they're approving stuff.
No, this is, you're approving it tonight.
Yeah,
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 okay,
just so that we're clear
I
and
got it.
this amendment.
Any
can
other
be passed on to the-
questions then on the amendment?
Yeah, and that's been our interpretation all along as one of the committee members,
Okay,
is that it was for housing only and not for above bars. There's a certain hardware store in that street that could really use it.
correct.
It will not be eligible,
Yes,
but
But they
That's-
could apply through the downtown redevelopment.
Okay.
Outside, just outside of that,
Yeah.
out of the TID, yeah.
well, we need this enforcer to go down there. And just to note, I will be abstaining from the vote.
All right, thank you. If there are no other discussion, go ahead and call the roll, please. On the amendment, if you vote yes, you're agreeing with the amendment. If you vote no, you're not agreeing with the amendment.
Anderson,
aye.
Appenfelt,
Abstain?
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Hanson,
Abstain.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wissell,
Abstain?
Yads,
Aye.
Sop.
Aye.
Okay, so the amendment passes. Now we're going to go back to the resolution itself with that change. Any other comments, questions, discussion regarding that? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Appenfelt,
Abstain?
Bonnet,
Aye.
Burnett,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
Fisher,
Aye.
Hanson,
Abstain.
Keel,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Perkins,
Aye.
Wissell,
Abstain?
Yads,
Aye.
Sop,
Aye.
Anderson.
No.
Thank you. So the resolution does, or what was the vote? Yeah, was it enough with the abstentions? I didn't keep count.
One no.
Okay, all right, very good. It passes. All right, thank you for your work on that, John. Really appreciate it. Exciting to have that move forward. All right, moving on to mayoral appointments. Downtown Redevelopment Committee, I'd like to table that. And this is an individual that is looking to fill, I was looking to fill in a vacancy that's been open, but we're gonna hold off on that. The second, I'm looking for a motion then to approve Police and Fire Commission appointment Rebecca Anderson to complete the remainder of the term of John Othout that it would expire May 1st, 2024. Is there a motion on the floor? Alderperson Yads? Thank you. Second by Alderperson Burnett? Yep. Thank you, Alderperson Burnett. Any comments or questions? Yes, Alderperson Wassell?
Just noting that this is a really short term,
Yes.
expires in May.
Mhm.
So then the mayor at that time will be reappointing.
Can reappoint.
Okay.
Or
Or
pick
could
someone
pick-
else.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. But hopefully Rebecca will step in and they'll determine that would be a good fit to renew. Right. Great. Yep. Alderperson Anderson?
I was gonna say, yeah, it is such a short term for now. That's fine to fill in the spot, but I'm just a little concerned we didn't receive any information on this person. So I guess I would be expecting a lot more information on this person before they're redone to make sure that we truly do have the best person for the job, and I'll leave it at that instead of making accusations. So thank you. And they're no relation to me whatsoever. I have no idea who this person is.
I will say, but to your point, it's a good point. But I will just give a little bit. I did interview Rebecca as well as the chiefs both did as well, and met with her and interviewed, and she attended multiple meetings on her own just to understand the PFC as well. Any other comments or questions? Okay, if you could all those in favor of approval of Rebecca Anderson on the PFC, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Any abstentions? All right, thank you. Then I will turn over for agenda number 12, the mayoral vacancy discussion. I'll turn over the gavel to our council president.
Okay, number 12 on our agenda is the mayor vacancy discussion. Just a little review. There were several suggestions last time on how we're going to do this. There's many options to fill the balance of Mayor Gluman's part-time term. So tonight we're going to continue that discussion and see if we can get to a point where we either make a decision tonight or get clearer road to what we want to do in February. And if we do, just a reminder, if we do to make a decision tonight on a person in particular, that we are allowed, with some reluctance by our attorney, to go ahead and make it effective on a particular day in the future. So any questions, or who wants to start conversation? Ken?
I guess I would just recommend or like to see that we just take a vote if we're gonna have a special election in November to fill the seat with an elected official or not. Cause that basically cuts our discussion on other things down real
Okay,
quick.
we need a motion for that?
Nope,
No?
just a show of hands, but let's have a discussion first.
Could I have a question if we're going to discuss this prior to this discussion or this vote or hand thing? Could I ask the question, how much would it cost for a special election to be held when it comes to the presidential election in November? What would it typically cost us extra?
It will be more cost efficient to do it with the presidential. So to add the one race onto the ballot will be minimal compared to trying to run a whole election for that.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I was just in looking at the minutes and they reflected the discussion from the last time and we had 3 folks who said that I may have an interest under this condition or that condition. Would it be feasible to ask the 3 people who did that if they still have that, or are they open to other alternatives?
I think that's a good idea. That will help put bearing on the question whether or not um, to have a special election. Ken?
I guess that's why I asked for that question to be asked, to do it the other way. And because there's one person that said they'd be interested, but not in the short term, right, Bobby? Because you didn't know if you really won the position, but you do it if it was for the rest of the term, the full 2.5 years, but not if it was only for a couple months, right?
Well, after talking to my family and thinking about it and exploring sort of the reasons why I would want to do this to begin with, I came to the conclusion that I would be honored and happy to serve, even if it means potentially having to, in 9 months, go through a special election.
Okay, then.
One other point too, to just bring up, and Ken, I didn't put anything in the packet because I figured it would come up in discussion, but Ken had also written to, I think, several of us suggesting that he had interest to potentially in the interim position. So I think for the record, I think it'd be important for the remainder of the council to be aware that it's not just 3.
Yeah, just to fill in, I'm a strong believer this has to be voted on by the people in a special election. We can't just have 7 people vote in who's going to be the mayor for the next 2.5 years. I don't think that's a responsible democracy in the way government should be ran. So, and yes, in the meantime, like Mr. Zappet said, like, yeah, I'd be willing to fill in, or even if Mike couldn't do it, I'm fine if you just want to fill in until the special election. But I really think we ought to have a special election.
Zach, did you have a comment?
Yes, so hearing that Bobby has made a commitment to the city, that means a lot, right? She's the only council person to say, hey, I'm committed to the city no matter what, 9 months or the full 2 years. And there are benefits to that. I know you mentioned maybe not the truest form of democracy, but there are benefits to having somebody that knows how government operates and makes a commitment to the city and has the time. When I made my offer, I did preference it as I don't have a whole lot of time, but I'll struggle and make it work. I don't have that concern with Bobby. Like she won't have to struggle to make it work like the rest of us might have to, right? She has availability, knowledge, passion, commitment to make it work. So knowing where she's at, I'd like to stand behind her and motion that we appoint Bobby to assume the remainder of Rebecca Gluin's term effective February 5th. So, and hopefully somebody would like to second that.
Is there a second to that?
Well, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. More discussion. Chris?
At this point, what are we voting on? Because we had one discussion, now it seems like we're switching it.
Yeah, so I was just gonna jump in and say, but as part of your motion, are you also asking for would we be also voting on a special election in November?
The motion was to appoint Bobby to the remainder of Mayor Gluin's term.
Okay.
Without a special election, correct.
Is that good, Chris?
Yeah, just making sure. So this means if we go say yes here, we're saying no to a special election.
Yeah, it's kind of hitting two birds with one stone. Yeah.
Now I'm confused. The remainder of Becky's term goes beyond the November election, correct? It goes for a year and a half versus up to the November election.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right.
So you seconded.
Did you second
I
before?
did second it,
Yeah, he did second.
but I'll take it back if I could. No.
Yes, Jack.
I would be opposed to that. I would like to see a special election in November. This should be opened up to all the public to have a chance. You know, if you resign, it should be left open because it was about 2 years yet left after that.
Mhm.
I think we should have it open to the public. And anybody who wants the job should be able to run for the job. It's not our responsibility to plug someone in there for 2.5 years. So that's my opinion.
I guess on the contrary, my opinion is that in these 2 years that are left, do you really want somebody stepping in? Well, I'm going to step in for a short term, and then someone else is going to come in till the interim when a special call is, special election, and then you're going to have potentially a third person fill out the term. To me, we are part of the democracy. We're elected by our constituents to represent them and to give our opinion. And so that's as democratic as you can get, for I'm concerned. Yes.
But isn't the motion made to a date so that you would assume you're, again, council presidency, she would ascend to the mayorship right away? So there would be no 3 people. It would be her ascending to the mayorship, you being council president, and then a possible special election in November. So we're not rolling it 3 times.
You're correct.
Okay.
I would be very
No,
temporary.
Yeah,
No,
go ahead. Zach.
stated it. So the motion was to appoint Bobby for the full remainder of Becky's term, which would be 2 years. So.
But not having, say, she'll be done in a few days. And we won't have, are you saying that have it start right when the mayor is done? That's what your motion is?
Yes,
That's
Yes.
what I was interpreting that way.
yes. So
The way Mike said it, it sounded like it was gonna roll to him, then roll to her when April came, and then roll.
there'll be a 1-week window where Mike would be acting mayor for 1 week.
We have to
Yeah.
install her, right?
But to be clear, the motion, included in the motion is no special election in November.
But the question I have is, can Bobby start on February 1st, or does there need to be an installation?
Oh, you mean a swearing in or?
Yeah.
I motioned February 5th because I assumed that would be swearing in.
Oh, is that what you said in your motion? Okay, I missed that. Ken,
Again, you can spend however you want, but this is not the people voting for someone. This is 7 people on the city council voting for the mayor. So we really need to have the special election. I can't tell you what your decision were, but you're pretty strongly that you didn't want to do it in the short term. And I think you had a discussion with people that said, oh, that didn't look real good, that you weren't willing to do it in the short term. You would only do it if it was the long term. And I think you had a discussion with people and they said, whoa, that didn't look so good. And that's why you all of a sudden had to change of heart. And if you want to do it, that's fine. Do it in the short term. Run for election like anyone else would. And if people like what you're doing, you already have your foot in there. In the speak of, we don't want people in the 2.5 years that don't know what they're doing. People that run for mayor are probably going to be people that are on the council anyway, that were previously on the council, or maybe previous mayor. It's people that are going to have experience that are going to run more than likely. So I don't see what everyone's so concerned about where, oh, we're gonna do a short term until November and there's gonna be yet another new person. It's not a big deal. That's what, the public needs to vote on this, not just us. Thank you.
Okay,
Well, I think we need to take into consideration the knowledge that we have on this floor and to remember all of the projects and things that are moving forward that we just recently approved of. And so if you take a look at what we're doing here, we've got the budget, we've got the ARPA funds, we've got city street updating and repair, new housing coming in, new economic development out of Trent's office. We have the strategic plan, the community connectivity, just to name a few. Those are all things we're currently involved in. And currently, someone from this body would take over and do that extremely well because they have the knowledge. They also have a working relationship with our department heads. And lastly, all of us here have a working knowledge of what a city administrator is, which a new mayor coming in might not understand. So I fully support taking someone from the council to move forward with the mayor position.
thank you. Chris?
Yeah, when this it all on the table and all that, if someone from, one of us went down or whatever, we would have opened it up to the public to then come in and say, I would like to then run for office. I mean, that happened with a couple of people who are on council now. They didn't, their first term was not elected on a normal election. It was a special term. And just thinking about that, if that was going to happen for the mayorship, I personally wouldn't feel comfortable voting on some person coming in off the street for the mayor. And that's why I think it should be put up to a special election. Now, as far as the interim, I'm hearing more than one voice want this. I hear a very loud voice, but I also hear another voice that might possibly want some interim. What I think would be fair is to say, okay, decide what we're going to do. And that's why I thought Ken made a great point of, are we going to have a special election or aren't we? Because if we're going to have a special election, I think then we have an opportunity for people on council to voice their opinion saying, yes, I'd like to be this person, or no, I wouldn't like to be this person. And then for that person or those individuals to let all of us know what their agenda is. Because that's a part of being the mayor, is letting everybody know what your agenda is for the next 2 years. I know Bobby, I don't know her very well. I know she does great work. I know a lot of good things about her, but I don't know what her personal agenda is moving forward for the next 2.5 years as being mayor. I just don't. So that's part of me doesn't feel comfortable saying tonight that you're going to be the person for the next 2.5 years, because sure, we've all worked together and some really awesome things moving the city in a really great direction, but I don't know your personal politics because I've never heard you sit in front of us, a room or whatever, saying, I want to be the mayor and this is my vision for being the mayor. And that's what I guess what I'd like to see with this is whoever's going to be that person should have some type of a vision and should have some type of a direction of which way they want to go and how they want to push the city. And whether they know us or not, whether they know the process or not, that's a world we live in. Tomorrow could be an election. Who knows when the next election happens? Sometimes it's someone who you worked with before, and that's always, makes things a lot smoother transition. And sometimes it might be someone you've never, ever worked with before. In that instance, we all just have to deal with the situation that's in front of us. Whoever's up there, we have to learn to work with them. And that's the reality of our jobs, is learning to work with whoever's in front of us. So again, I'm not against, whoever wants to be that person. I'm just thinking fairly, how we go about this fairly is if we had an open election like we did with, or an open thing we do with all the person that's missing, I wouldn't feel comfortable with just this body saying yes to that person, because it's a big decision and it's a big responsibility. So I think a special election is the right way to go. And in the interim, I think we should have an opportunity for whoever's going to be that interim person to give some type of a presentation in front of this body, letting us know why they think they should be that person, and then we can move forward with it.
I'm going to get to you a second. Before we go any further, it was brought to my attention that the agenda does not allow us to vote tonight. It's only saying discussion. So, and this is good discussion, all of it. So I think at some point, and I'm not there
Yeah, you're fine.
I want to make sure we have a little bit of a consensus on a couple things so we can think about between now and the next meeting. Because the next meeting is when we would actually vote. So go ahead.
I just want to say, and Bobby's done a great job in the chair and in the other committee. I want to give her an out. What happens that all of a sudden you become mayor and you commit to 2.5 years and something changes and you don't want to be mayor? You have the opportunity to lead us for 7, 8 months, and then you really could make a hard decision. That is also fair to us as a body and the people of Beaver Dam to choose. And if you've done fantastic work in these 7 months, you've proven yourself. You could be the next mayor for 3 years instead of just 7 months or 2.5 years. So it's an out also for you at the possibilities. Things change, life changes, commitments change. So.
And just a reminder, the special election would be only for that term from November to the following. It'd be 1.5 years, basically, to fill the term. It wouldn't be a full term. Bobby?
Just to respond, I appreciate, Dave, you thinking of me. But regardless of whether the interim mayor is me or someone else, I think realistically, the time from now until November is if they start the first week in February, that's 9 months. We've all started new jobs. You're still just learning the job at 9 months. You're still just hitting, you're not hitting your stride yet. It's an interim position. So I have no issue committing to the entire length of the rest of Becky's term because it's 2 years and 2 months. It's 26 months. And if we look at it the other way, whoever is appointed as interim, if we have a special election and then we have till the end of Becky's term, that person will have to face a campaign and an election. Yes, the election's 9 months after they're appointed, if they're appointed the first week in February. But if there's a primary, they actually start in August. So that person is going to be facing not only learning the ropes and doing the job of mayor, but also running a campaign 6 months after they begin. And then a year later, they will, depending on if there's a primary or not, they will have to do another campaign and election. So basically that person would have 2 campaigns to run in 26 months. So, that's a consideration.
Or 3 if there's a primary. Just a comment too, in regard to that, we've got ordinances as to how many votes you have to have, how many signatures, I should say, on a ballot, which is mayor's 250, is it?
300 minimum.
300. That was for a full-time mayor, so
The range is 300 to 600 on the sheets.
so I'm just putting that out there to this council that maybe that number needs to change to be more, 300, 600 is huge difference. Maybe at some point, this council needs to say, hey, 150 is a better number or something like that for a part-time mayor versus full-time. Just a suggestion.
Does the city set that number or does the state set that number?
It's a good question.
I'd have to look.
Yeah. I was under the impression the state number is lower, and so I'm thinking that it's our ordinance, but I'd have to confirm. We can do that.
Somebody else had their hand up. Did you get your question answered? Okay. Ken.
I was gonna say it. How many campaigns have you ran, Bobby? You're putting yourself out there, so I have to question you on this stuff. Isn't this your first term that we're in?
Correct. But I am anticipating that will more than likely be more competition for the mayoral position than there is for an aldermanic seat.
Okay. I guess that's what my question. You're in your first term, right? Did you have anyone run against you? Okay. So the wealth of knowledge is that you were appointed to that position and this is your first term.
No, I ran unopposed.
Okay. So
And my assumption is that for the mayoral position, there's much more likely to be opposition. So there's much more likely to be an actual campaign involved and much more likely to possibly have a primary, both for the special election and the next election at the end of the term.
Go ahead.
So knowing that we can no longer vote on motions tonight, I was wondering if the president had maybe an idea on how to proceed to get us towards setting up decisions for the next meeting when we have to act.
I'm gonna lean on Larry.
Yeah, I think you keep going with what you're doing. We're just not gonna take official votes and take action, but that doesn't mean we can have votes, shows of hands. I think we should have it the purpose of this meeting was to have it figured out so that we show up on the 5th and take action. And I think that's certainly legally what I would prefer rather than taking a vote tonight anyway. So I'm not unhappy to see that's not on the agenda. But yeah, just continue exactly what you're doing. Decide who and for how long. If you can get through that, do it.
So would it be appropriate then if I asked the council president if this would be the time for a showing of hands to see who would support the nomination for Bobby Marks in the future?
Let me just go to another question that Mr. Free has.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do it tonight, but maybe before the 5th. Can we put together a timeline that shows all of our restrictions as far as signatures needed and the window of the campaigns and some of those things to get us through the interim and like what a candidate or somebody has to do in each of those steps? So we just know how crunched the window is or isn't as we move along the timeline?
That goes
I'm sorry.
kind of back over to staff over here. Yeah. That's a fair question.
I just was thinking, is there a timeline that we could put together to help everybody understand when certain things have to start and stop and how, what we have to do for the interim, what we have to do ahead of a actual election, like the signature window, all those things
Yeah.
kind of all laid out combined?
I know, I have spoken to Karen Gibson on this at the county and she believes, signatures would probably have to start being, on May 1st. Once we can announce an election, if that's what we're gonna do. To have it within the number of days we need it to happen before a primary. So we could definitely put something on paper.
Yeah, I just was thinking partly to Bobby's comment, because then it starts again, right? At the next, at that election and at the end of that term, it kind of starts again. I just was looking to see all those things.
Well, it would only be one election.
But when we're done filling that term, there's another one coming is what I was getting at.
In 26, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I just kind of want to circle around a little bit because we've heard from Bobby and her flexibility in that and Zach, but we haven't talked about you throwing your hat in the ring, Mike.
You didn't notice I'm not wearing a hat.
Oh, I can't see that. But anyway, you said, if I understand correctly, given the fact that you're leaving the council, I thought you said that you would be willing to serve up until November if there was an election like that as the, whatever the title is, mayor. Are you still interested in that?
I think I said it as a last resort. So I really am not interested in that. Part of me would love to do it. And part of me, I got too many irons in the fire and I'm juggling too many balls. I don't think I would do a fair job. I think someone like Bobby's got the time to do it. So that's my hat's off.
All right, thank you.
Good question. Ken.
I think like Zach, either whichever way you want to spin it, we should do a show of hands of. I would phrase it as, do you want to do a special election in November or do you not? So a show of hands of who wants to do a special election. If you want to do it Zach's way, you say, show of hands of who wants to have Bobby Mark be the mayor until the end of the mayoral term.
Chris?
Just a show of hands.
I would really prefer if we separated the two. Like I would prefer, we talk about the special election and then we talk about who might follow post that we possibly.
Yeah, I think that's a fair idea. Any other questions before we take that vote? Okay,
When you raise your hand, you're voting.
if you raise your hand,
In other words, if we take a call by raising our hands, that's a vote.
yes. Yeah, so if you do. Okay, so any,
To clarify, Larry, it's, they're allowed to raise their hands. It's just, they can't, there's not an action on the table, correct?
Yeah, we're just doing this just think of it as a straw poll.
okay, so all people in favor of having a special election, now is the time to raise your hand.
In November?
In November. Yeah, it would be in coinciding with the presidential election, with the possibility that potentially there could be a primary in August, which would cause, is there a primary anyway in August? Okay, so that's, timing is good. So we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it looks like at this point, I'm going to abstain. At this point, it looks like we're, again, it's not official. The straw poll says that we'd like to see a special election. So now the next question would be, who is willing in this group, if someone's willing to be that person between now and then? And Bobby stated that you are, correct? So I guess my question would be, is there anyone else who feels they have the time, the energy, and especially meetings? I would hate to have, and I know a couple of you guys said you'd put your hat in if you needed to, but if you're out of town working all day, it's gonna be hard to get to 3/4 of the meetings, frankly. The only night meetings are really the ones that we have as a council. So any other comments or discussions? Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, not so much administrative, but they do go to the meetings. Yeah. So there's, okay. Yeah. So we have 2 folks interested in an interim position. Is there anyone else?
I will support Bobby. So if she chooses to run for the 9-month appointment, I support her. So I suspend my campaign.
No signatures.
If elected, I will not serve.
Were you ever the governor of Florida? Yes.
Is this the category, if we go in this direction, that would the folks retain their council position or not?
I think they have the option, correct? Well, they have the option on a vote.
Yeah, Alderperson Anderson has said that he would fill in, which means acting mayor, not accepting an appointment until that November election.
And for clarification,
for-
you would still vote in April for president? Correct?
Correct. If
Okay.
that's what you chose to do on that vote and not be acting mayor. act as a alderperson, yes.
So Larry, just for further clarification, in the event that they don't appoint to serve as interim mayor, technically speaking, Mike would serve as the acting interim mayor till April. And then at the April election, at that point, the council would need to vote, choose a council president in which they would choose
An acting mayor.
an acting mayor.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to go there. Cause it push gets to shove, but, any other comments before we, yes,
I guess just for clarify, is that what you were under the impression, Bobby, or do you want to be appointed mayor and vacate your seat?
Well, to be honest, I would prefer to hit the ground running in the position of mayor and do, spend my time focusing on mayoral duties. So I would prefer to find someone and appoint them to take my seat so that I don't have to try and do both.
Does that mean that you would take the higher salary?
If I was taking the position of mayor, I would take the mayoral salary. Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay.
And with the understanding that as mayor, I'm expected to put in a certain number of hours per week in order to earn that salary. Time which I would not have to spend if I also maintained my aldermanic seat.
okay, so. Want to do this by a show of hands? It's going to be basically an election, if you want to go that way, just again, a straw poll, nothing official till 2 weeks from now. We really have two candidates, Ken and Bobby, for filling the term of mayor from February 5th through the November election.
Yeah, and they're offering to do so in different ways. One is an appointment, one is acting mayor as maintaining an aldermanic seat.
Okay. Good
So just
clarification.
make sure you, as you ask for a show of hands, that you do one or the other first. Don't do them both at the same time or nobody will know what they're voting on.
And just to be clear, and Alderperson Anderson, you can correct me if I'm misunderstanding, but the thought process would be really if an election for or a vote for Anderson you would basically, unless you step down as council president and he became council president right away, it wouldn't be February 5th. It would be until April, if that makes sense. So
But
you'd be serving as acting until which time the council could nominate.
Right. So that probably argues in favor of the question. The first question to ask is how many people would be in favor of appointing Alderperson Marks to the position of mayor to serve the term until the new mayor is seated after a special election. And if that comes out in a positive form, we don't have to figure out when you'd stop and when Ken would start.
Yes.
So, legal clarification. So when we bring people on, and we have multiple candidates, and someone is appointed, the council determines by a closed vote, correct? I mean, a ballot vote. That's the way we do it. So you're asking for a show of hands right now as supporting one or the other? Is that the right way to do it?
I think first we're gonna just ask for how many are in favor of Bobby becoming the part-time mayor for the interim until the special election.
And then it's my understanding that we'll actually vote on it the next meeting.
Correct.
So this is kind of like to get put on the ballot type of deal.
The,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
more of a
this
straw.
this is so we can hit the ground running on and figure out whether or not there were informational needs or other things that we needed to address so that the interest of the council at the last discussion was we need to be ready on the 5th to have a sense of where we're going. So the question would be, how many people are in favor of appointing Alderperson Mark to the position of mayor for the beginning, February 5th and extending until the new mayor is seated in late November?
Chris, did you have a question or you got answers?
Just clarification that I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about, remove the candidates' names from it and just vote on if we're going to have the person replacing the mayor or if it's going to be a more of a alderperson and plus a mayor at the same time. If we were just going to have that question be separate or if we're going to attach a name to it.
We can do that. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask that question. Hands up for whoever is in favor of, let's say it right, the appointing a new mayor for the interim through the next election, that would be a mayor and not an alderperson, if I want to clarify that.
At what election point, November
The
or?
president, well, it's gonna depend if it's a primary.
Yes, but I'm saying, I mean,
November.
Yeah, but they
Okay.
would be,
It would start
they
February.
would be in all the way.
I just want to make sure.
Right. Okay, show of hands, 1, 2, 3, 6. 12. So we have 12 for. So we're for the appointment. So at our next meeting, we want to say who the appointment is.
Sure.
Chris?
Can I just ask Alderperson Anderson, does that change your perspective on if this is something you want or not? Because of the fact that you would be losing your aldermanship if you took it?
I think if you leave the question as it is, can we take nominations at the next meeting?
That works too. You can save that decision making until the 5th.
Yeah, well, there might be other people I'm thinking, maybe.
So we've got a pretty good idea that unless there's minds that change, that on the 5th, you're going to vote, the intent is to vote for a special election in November and to vote for and seat on that date, an appointed mayor. And I think that it's a good point that if now that that's somewhat settled, pending a vote, it may be a good idea to either hear or, by email or however, to see who's interested in that. Now that that's defined, that's a lot of progress. However you'd like to do it as a council, and it's open for discussion.
Okay, is that something you would take care of, Nathan?
Yes, if anyone wants to, it could either be Tracy or I, but I am more than willing, those that are interested in this appointment, I would actually recommend coming and visiting with me. We can kind of talk through, go through the draft job description that was created and if there are any questions and so forth. One thing that I would highly recommend is that whoever is serving as the appointed mayor, that we would be visiting on a regular basis too as well. So we can talk schedules and things of that nature. So I would welcome that conversation. And if they want to reach out to me, that would be great. So.
Correct. Just for clarification, it sounded like we were going down the slope of opening this up for public nominations. Did I miss?
No.
Okay, this is sticking within this body. Okay.
Right.
Okay, very good. Just thank you for the clarification.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was just gonna say. I would recommend anyone that may have interest to send an email to, the leadership or at least Nathan to just, so we got a list, but then maybe at the next meeting, have that be its own item. that we've done like before, kind of like for council president, where you know, nominate someone and then we get the list and then we do the closed voting or whatever at that point.
Mhm.
Paper ballots at that point.
Sure.
That way, but yeah, ahead of time, you know, again, there may be other older people that want to do it now that we've decided to do it this way. So, just an idea.
Okay. I think we made good progress. We got a couple of things sorted out and we got a lot of progress. Good lot of progress, he says. We didn't talk that way at Eustisford High School. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
That's what I thought you were beating around the bush to get to. So I'll make that motion to observe.
Is there a second? Mr.
second.
Perkins, all in favor, say aye.